Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jurgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Scarves and Spikes. It is Tyler Henry, last-minute sub, and Sydney.
The emergency sub.
Emergency sub, yep.
The concussion sub, too soon?
Yeah,
Right.
for real.
Way too
Tommy's going to be
soon.
joining us here soon, maybe after the interview with the esteemed guest, Sacha Kljestan, who will be on shortly.
Yes.
Tommy had some stuff that he had to deal with that was unforeseen, so he'll be coming in hot, as they say. So, but gentlemen, how are y'all?
Doing well.
Good. It's a beautiful day outside. I know because I was at training, and it was sunny, not a cloud in the sky. It was an awesome day.
Yeah,
It really was. And of course, during the match on Sunday against Inter Miami, which we'll talk about a little bit later with Sasha, and then when Tommy gets on, maybe a little bit before then. Of course, it's going to be storming and rainy. So when the eyes of the world, guys, are on Mercedes-Benz Stadium, it'll be a closed roof with it raining and storming outside. Because that always seems to be the case. At least there's a roof. Exactly.
I was going to say also, and it will be raining goals inside the stadium. Terrible.
Please, caveat.
Hopefully Atlanta.
Yeah, please make sure there's a footnote there. So, but for real though, because that weather is supposed to get pretty wild Saturday night going into Sunday. Everybody be safe as you travel up to the Benz and participate in your match day activities. One of which we really hope will be y'all coming and hanging out with us at 5:00 at the Signia, right next door to the Benz. We've gone through it a million times, but in case you don't know, it is the giant glass hotel right next to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Can't miss it. You just go right up to the 4th floor. You can walk in pretty much any door you want, and you'll see the signs. You go up to the bar up there. We'll be doing a live show from 5 to 6. And
Indoors.
Indoors. There you go. Closed roof. And it's on Halo board inside. But yeah, we'll have the live podcast. We'll be talking Atlanta, Miami. We will end it right about when the lineups come out. So we'll kind of give you our quick thoughts on, hey, Messi's playing or Messi's not playing. And we'll go from there. And then you can run across the backyard to go get in the Benz.
Hopefully not raining
in
the backyard when the game starts.
Absolutely.
Bring an umbrella just in case.
Yes, please. So besides that, y'all visit scarvesandspikes.com. As you know, all your Atlanta United news analysis. We got some stuff to talk about today. The twos are back in action. The unified team has announced their schedule. So we'll touch on that as well. And also, quick shout out to Atlanta's own Sweetwater Brewing Company for their support of Scarves and Spikes. Y'all know they brew the Rowdy Peach IPA, the classic 420 Pale Ale, like the OG Pale Ale. Plenty more. And then Sweetwater 420 Fest, which is going to be April 18th through the 20th this year at Pullman Yard. So we appreciate their support. Appreciate y'all's support of us and Sweetwater. Y'all go check out sweetwaterbrew.com for more information. With that,
well,
let's dive into it.
Henry, you're at training. And Brooks Lennon spoke to the media for the first time since he was injured, which is good news. I feel like that bodes well for him playing against Miami, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. And look, he was asked pretty directly, how do you feel about going into this game? And he said he's built up his fitness 100%. He said, they've been doing some contact training with that shoulder and making sure that it's solid, it's good to go. He says he's ready. He can't wait to hit the field again. He's one of those players that really clearly wears the badge. And you can really see that from his attitude. And he's going to be an important player that I think will definitely have a role against Inter Miami. I judging from the pattern that we've seen with, for example, Latte Lath getting the start week 1 when we kind of had our doubts if he was going to get game time there from the start. Pedro Amador being available and starting against the Red Bulls for the very first time. If we go from that pattern, I think Brooks Lennon is your starting right back. And I think that's going to be interesting.
I'll say this. Sorry, I'll jump in ahead of you, Tyler, just a little bit. I would say, I just kind of thought of it. I would say no, but, you got to look at Ronald Hernandez is hurt, so you may not have much of a choice unless you put Ronald Hernandez out there with one leg, right?
Though, to be fair, Matt Edwards hasn't done a bad job. He's done pretty well at right back for Atlanta United. But keep in mind, you're going up against an attack that has left, teams in their wake. It's an undefeated team so far in 2025, and a team that has so much attacking talent, even without Lionel Messi. So I think this team needs to put their best foot forward. They need to put their best lineup forward possible. And I feel like Ronnie Deila has tended to, whereas previous coaches have tended to err on the side of caution with these players coming back, I feel like Ronnie Deila just trusts them to go in at this point. And I think it's going to be the same case with Brooks on Sunday.
Yeah. I think one of the factors as well is Brooks Lennon, when that incident happened down in Miami and he messed up his shoulder, I mean, admittedly, I was kind of shocked at the timetable that was given, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're having surgery and you have to be completely all set. And the thing is, Brooks Lennon could go play football 2 months ago, but Brooks Lennon cannot go play very defensive physical football 2 months ago. You got to understand, players are going to hit that shoulder. They're going to target the shoulder. I know we all like to think that everything is sunshine and rainbows and sportsmanlike conduct is a real thing all the time, but it's not always a real thing all the time. There are some people out there, there's some players in every sport, right? All over the world. They're going to take that extra edge wherever they can get it. And sometimes that might mean poking. You see it in the NFL all the time, but poking it, a slight injury, something that's still working its way back. I get it. It's part of it. Brooks Lennon has to have his shoulder ready for the contact that he's going to have to make as a right back that is up and down that pitch all the time. So when this was a month and a half ago now, but when I talked to him down in Florida, I asked him, I was like, how are you feeling? How's your shoulder? And he was like, it's really good. I'm feeling really good. So I kind of hope that, this is all kind of, they're not going to come out and say this, but kind of implying that maybe he was a little ahead of schedule. Maybe it wasn't quite as bad as everybody thought, but we're still right on the early part of that timetable. And if he can come out and he's ready to go, that would be a huge boost for a lot of reasons. And it's not that Matt Edwards has done anything wrong, but Brooks Lennon, I think, is just going to be your more well-rounded guy.
You think he was drinking, real quick, you think he was drinking whatever Brad Guzan was drinking, Tyler? You say it was ahead of schedule.
Slipped him something, in the parking lot for sure.
Brad's secret stuff.
Yeah. Michael Jordan's juice.
Right.
I mean, it's funny that y'all bring that up because one of the things that Brooks talked about was how he actually talked with 10 different soccer players and connected with them and asked them basically y'all have had this injury before. What has been what have y'all done and how do I go about this recovery process? And among those players, he mentioned Weston McKennie, who's the other one? Michael Parkhurst, as some of the players that he mentioned that he reached out to. And he said he did a lot more research than he thought he would, because this is an injury that isn't very typical for a soccer player. I mean, you might get it in baseball or football or something where you really are using the arm and the shoulder, but it isn't a usual thing in soccer. So he did reach out to a few footballers. That's what he told us today, and kind of figuring that out and coordinating with the medical staff really helped him kind of accelerate the timeline. And he did say it, he that helped him come back much sooner than they anticipated.
I was laughing because you were asking, it's not a typical injury for Len. I mean, when has the guy suffered a typical injury? I mean, he slips on the mat or somewhat, in Montreal or Toronto, wherever it was. So that's what he's out for weeks. And then he gets his shoulder injury, and then he's out for months. So I don't think he's really suffered anything typical, to be honest with you, from the injury situation, from the injury front. But I think again it bodes well that he's able to um, at least speak to the media. That means his training is going on well, and it's good to hear that he's feeling better. And it's good to hear that Tyler, he was telling you that he was feeling better. I think at that point the club was just trying to take his time. They didn't want to rush him back and risk further damage. By the way, I mean, it's your shoulder. I mean, it's not like your hamstring or your quad or your ankle or anything like that. So, I mean, you're not as active on it as you are with other parts of your body, but still, you still need it. But like you said, players are going to be targeting it. They're going to be picking on Lennon, for lack of a better term, throughout Sunday. But it's good at least to see him, back out there, back in the fold, back training.
And one thing that you kind of have to watch out for as well is, just like any pretty severe injury, really surgery, it's the psychological aspect of it, right? Because I'm sure there's been some work done with Brooks to kind of get past that first moment that he's going to get slammed in that shoulder, because you're naturally kind of step off of it a little bit. You're gonna give it a little bit, maybe less of a push than you normally would. And I mean, you see it all the time with like ACL injuries and Achilles and things like that. Like the explosiveness isn't quite the same. Well, in a position, especially where you're going up for aerial duels and you're that shoulder's going into somebody else's shoulder and things like that, you want to see him really be able to get past that kind of mental block, because it'll be there. And you hope that like he's been able to kind of work through it, maybe with the physios or whatever in training, to kind of, help move past that. But nothing is going to replicate a real game. And so I think Brooks is that kind of guy, though, that I don't think he'll have an issue with that. But that kind of psychology, you just never know. You never know. And here's hoping that he comes out and he dives into it, 110% like always.
And throw this out there too, right? It's his first time playing in front of his new head coach.
Yep.
So we talked about this with Nguyen Ba the other week. Is this an opportunity for him to kind of hit the reset button and really not show that he has a place in this team, because I think he's a pencil-in starter at right back, but show that, hey, he was kind of the boogeyman in some circles among fans, but I think he just gives you so much on that right side, so much pace, so much from a attacking standpoint. Are his crosses aimless from time to time? Absolutely, but Tyler, or not Tyler, Henry, you said, he wears the badge well. He's very vocal out there when he needs to be. He's dedicated. I mean, it's not like he's not lazy. He definitely puts in the effort. He puts in the shove to pretty much every single match.
That man never stops running.
Yeah, he really never stops running. I think he can point to a match where you say, man, Brooks Lennon just sucked, in that he didn't put forth an effort. He didn't, go all out. That's not who Brooks Lennon is. And maybe the talent isn't up there with the best right backs at MLS, but his tenacity, his pace again, and his just will, make him an attractive player on the field. It's just that technical aspect. It's just that missing piece. Maybe with Latte Lath back in the fold, and unfortunately he's in concussion protocol. He did train, of course, which is good. But maybe with Latte Lath, maybe with a reliable striker up top, we see another dimension to Brooks's game that we haven't seen in some time, really since Joseph was here. So that's what I'm looking for Brooks most of all, is to show that, hey, under a new coach, under a new system that, Henry, you've heard about it, really favors wing players like Amador and Lennon, he can definitely step in and elevate his game even more than he has.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, and Brooks said it today. He was asked, how do you feel about the role that Ronnie's asking you to play? And he looked very excited to play in Ronnie Dyla's system, because he said, this is a system that I feel very comfortable with, that I feel like I could do well in. And so, and yes, I did write about it, and there's going to be another article going up on the website in the next few days about kind of this attack and some of the tactics behind it and what kind of still needs to come together. But a large part of what Ronnie Deila wants to do with his teams is play along the wings, create overloads, and a big part of that is pushing the fullbacks forward. And that's where you've seen Matt Edwards and Pedro Amador kind of going up the field and joining the attack. That's where Brooks Lennon thrives. That he's used to that. And sending in the crosses, like that's another thing that he does well. So it's all kind of part of something that he'll feel at home with. And really quick before we bring Sacha in, we something that really stood out to me in training today, and it goes kind of hand in hand with the question in the chat here, is will Ronnie help our guys get better? I think he will, and I'll tell you why. I was at training today, and there was this drill where they were practicing kind of attacking space, which is sometimes an issue that this team has had, but they were going over it, and Ronnie Deila was very vocal. He was kind of the players. Someone would make a mistake, and he'd be like, "That's a pass."
Felipe tweeted that too.
Why was that and I remember he looked at Matt Edwards, and Matt Edwards played a lazy pass, in a moment he shouldn't have. And then he stopped the play, and he asked Matt, "You think that pass was good?" And Matt was like, "No." He's like, why is that a bad pass? And then he like went in and like explained it, and he made sure he understood. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the sign of a good coach, one that kind of knows that kind of thing and is able to point those things out and make sure that the player learns the lesson.
Yeah, it's a mixture, and we'll get Sacha in here. It's a mixture of, you have to praise, right? But you have to call somebody out when they do something. And it this level of football, like, and with Ronnie Deila being the coach, you're not going to take it's just okay. He is gunning for perfection. You'll never reach perfection. Everybody knows that. But if he's not calling out the little mistakes and only the big ones, that's not what's going to get you better. That's not what's going to fix it. And I mean, yeah, I don't I get what Team is saying. He said he'll be the first coach to do so if that happens. I would argue Tata definitely made a lot of players better, and I would argue that Frank de Boer at least made a handful of players better defensively. But yes, since essentially 2020, it's been hard to find a player that has come to Atlanta and left a more talented player, relatively speaking. Anyway, that's another topic for another time. But all right. The man who does everything, quite literally. Let's get him in, the one and only Sacha Kljestan. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, guys?
Welcome back, man.
Can you guys hear me?
Absolutely.
Loud and clear.
All right. Just want to make sure the mic's on. Thank you guys for having me again.
Absolutely. We appreciate you coming back, man.
No problem.
So I got to start off because I'm an Open Cup sicko.
Me too.
I love the Open Cup. I want to know the full story here. Like with you going and joining, now 2 years in a row, Des Moines, and now you've brought the whole posse with you. It's like, how did this all kind of come about?
All right. I'll try to make a long story as short as possible for all the listeners out there. I work out at a gym in Newport Beach, California, where I live. The guy who owns the gym is from Des Moines, Iowa. He's a former college soccer player who used to play in the summers for the Des Moines Menace. The Des Moines Menace is actually like a PDL team back in the day. Now it's USL League 2. When I was in college, I played for Orange County Blue Star in PDL. We actually played against the Des Moines Menace in the national semifinal in 2005, and they beat us 2-1. And our team was stacked. We had a ton of guys that ended up as first-round draft picks in MLS the next year. Anyway, I work out at this guy's gym 5 days a week. One day he says, "Hey, like 6 of my buddies from Des Moines are in town for just like a visit to California. They're all going to come work out in class tomorrow." And after class, one of the guys was like, "Hey, I'm the GM of the Des Moines Menace. We would love for you to like just come out of retirement and play in the Open Cup with us. It would be so fun." I absolutely said no chance right away. I was like, there's no way. I'm going to Iowa, and I really don't want to play soccer on a full-size field ever again in my life. It just doesn't interest me. I've ran enough for like 5 lifetimes. The Then the Open Cup draw happened like 3 weeks later, and their first round game was in Southern California. So he called me again and was like, listen, the game's like in your backyard. Will you come play? And I was like, all right, whatever, let's do it. It'll be fun. And so I got a couple of guys to come with me. We won one game. We lost the second one to Union Omaha, who's perhaps the best USL League One team. Then this year, it was actually Benny Failhaber who reached out to me because he was coaching Sporting Kansas City 2 for the last 3 years. And so he had wanted to play in the Open Cup last year, but he couldn't because of his coaching conflicts. And so he hit me up this year like, are you guys running it back? Should we do this thing? Because now he's out of a job right now and he's just hanging out at home. And then from there, I was like, all right, if we're going to do it, let's do it for real this time. Let's get a full team of ex-MLS guys, and let's just see like how far of a run we can actually go on. So that was the start of it. And we've kind of just been recruiting guys, and like different people have been reaching out to us if we're playing, and we've got a pretty good roster. So I'm pretty excited. It's going to be fun.
I like that. A pretty good roster.
This guy named Bradley Phillips, I hear his play. I hear he's pretty good in this day.
Listen, we've got like, if you look at the squad, a bunch of Open Cup trophies in the cabinet, a bunch of MLS Cups, supporter shields, MLS All-Stars, MLS Best 11s, MLS MVP finalists. So it's going to be pretty sweet, I think, for the local crowd in Kansas City to see if the young kids from Sporting Kansas City 2 against the old men of former MLS All-Stars, if we can still do it, if we can still run around. So it's going to be fun.
Can't wait. Yeah. I love it.
Awesome stuff. And like Tyler and like a lot of folks out there, I'll be looking forward to see what the Menace do in 2025. How far you guys can take this for sure. But good stuff. I was looking at the roster and talked about Bradley Wright Phillips, but Dax, Ozzy Alonso, Phil Haber, like you said, Matt Hedges, Justin Merrim.
Yeah.
Solid crew.
The guys like Dax and Matt Hedges, who are literally just out of the game now for like 3 or 4 months, they're going to be expected to carry a heavy load and play the full 90 minutes. And then we've got to be very tactical, I think, about how we set up our team, and substitutions are planned and all that stuff, because I don't think a lot of us can go 90 minutes. So we'll see. But I do want to say special thanks to the Des Moines Menace, because they're a summer league team. So a lot of people I've seen on Twitter, like, how do you feel about taking all these spots from young kids who got, and Des Moines Menace doesn't really have a team right now because they're a summer league team. Most of their kids are still in college that they recruit to come to Des Moines for the summertime. So I appreciate the club giving us the opportunity to live out our dreams again, so to speak.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, we'll be looking to see how the Menace fare in 2025 US Open Cup. So steering to Atlanta United, this is a team that hasn't scored in back-to-back matches. First against Charlotte 2-0, and then a scoreless draw against the Red Bulls. Something like 6 shots on goal in the first half, none in the second half. The one they got would have been called offsides even if they had scored. So from your vantage point, looking at all 30 MLS clubs, from your vantage point of MLS 360, MLS Countdown, why hasn't that attack caught on yet, despite how much hype it has gotten going into the 2025 season?
Yeah, look, there's a big, difference between a team that's good and then a group of $50 million players that you put on the field, that have only been together for 4 to 6 weeks now. So I just don't think the attack has gelled yet. My one concern with the attack is Moranchuk. I just don't really see how he fits in with the other three. I see Almiron plays the game at a Premier League pace, at a fast level. He plays the game faster than everybody else. Saba can keep up with that. He plays the game at a fast level. Latte Lath plays the game at a fast level. Moranchuk slows the game down. And so I see this difference in the tempo of the attack when Moranchuk gets on the ball. Now, it's still pretty early for him, but in the sample size that we've seen, he doesn't look like a $12 million DP number 10 in MLS to me. And so he's got to find a way to gel with the other guys, and specifically Almiron. Almiron is the best of the bunch. He's the guy that can change the pace of a game and can set up plays and finish plays off. So I think it's just trying to figure out what balance works. And then also you got to figure out who are the two midfielders, because we've seen a change in every game, right? In who the two starting midfielders are. In my opinion, it should be Fortune and Click.
Hmm.
I've seen enough of Schliss now for a year and a half to say he's not it. And I've seen enough of Muyumba, who I really like as a player, but he's so inconsistent. Like, I had a coach in Belgium tell me, as a center mid, I don't need you at an 8 or a 9 out of 10 ever. I need you at a 7 out of 10 every single game. And those guys are just a 4 or an 8 or a 4 or an 8. More times a 4 or a 5, in my opinion. That's where things stand right now from my vantage point.
Well, let me ask you real quick on Bartek Sliš. And Muyumba, I feel like, has been a hot button topic among MLS or Atlanta United fans, especially with the emergence of Fortune, who
So
you
has
mentioned.
Miranchuk, to be fair.
Yeah, and
Both of
Chuck.
them.
Yeah, absolutely. But in the case of Sliš, who came in, yeah, I agree, he came in kind of raw, took him a little bit to get his legs underneath him, no pun intended, in MLS, this new country, new culture. I feel like there's been some improvement from him. And we say all the time here, if you don't notice the midfielder, he's doing a good job. So have you seen any improvement from Bartek since he's come into the league?
Yeah, listen, I think he's been okay. The problem is, if you are going to be an MLS Cup contender, I don't think you can just be okay in the middle of midfield. And so I just think that there's more, that you get more out of Fortune now, who's a young guy who covers more ground, who's quicker, who plays the game fast, is tidy on the ball. Has a lot more upside, in my opinion. And then Click is a guy that's more experienced, good on the ball. And if you can get him to just focus on doing his job in the midfield, I think that's the pairing that eventually will win out. Now, we will see, I'm sure, all 4 of those midfielders playing their games because of rotation and time and all that stuff. But in my opinion, those would be the best 2 right now.
So we're talking about this new look Atlanta side, and one of the big names, a returning name, Miguel Almiron, a player that you actually got to play against, if I'm not mistaken. Back in the day, the first time that he was here, he's back in MLS. Can he really be kind of this player that Atlanta needs from it? Was he the right signing for Atlanta United at this point in time?
He was the right signing because it's reignited the fan base and excited everybody, and it's drawn on the heartstrings of all original Atlanta United fans that saw him play that very first game at Bobby Dodd. That was me on the pitch. That first game, I came away fucking impressed by this guy. It was amazing. And the guy's first 2 years in MLS were impeccable. I've gone on the record and say that the sequel is not going to be anywhere near as good as the original, and I stand by that. I really like what I've seen from 3 games. He's looked very good, but injury prone, hasn't played a lot in the last, he hasn't been a normal locked on starter for some time at Newcastle. But definitely still at his age right now has the skill set to be a 12-12 guy in Major League Soccer. But I think the expectations are just so sky high for him based on his first time around that it's going to be pretty hard to live up to that. And then if he gets injured and if he doesn't play the game the same, if he's not as electric as he used to be, it'll be a little disappointing.
And just kind of a follow-up to that, you already talked about, Miranchuk maybe not really fitting into the system well, and he's kind of penciled in as the 10. Well, back when Miguel Almiron was first here, he was the number 10. He played at the number 10 position. And within the fan base, there's kind of been this debate of, should Miggy play at the 10? Should Miranchuk really stay at the 10 right now? What are your thoughts there? Do you think he could do better in this team at the 10, or should he stick on the wing?
Listen, it's interesting because both of the players seem to occupy similar positions, him and Miranchuk, with Almiron comes inside a lot, right? He wants to be on his left foot coming inside. That's where Miranchuk also wants to be, slightly to the right in the number 10 spot, coming inside on his left foot. Maybe something we might see soon. I don't have any inside information on this. This is just as I'm watching the games. If you played Miranchuk out on the right and he tucked inside and you got Almiron to play as that 10 who's a little more free and can roam around the field, and when Brooks Lennon gets back, he comes on the overlap, so he provides you width on the right side. Maybe that works out. Maybe that gets the best out of the both of them. But for now, yeah, both guys seem to occupy similar positions. And if the attack isn't clicking and they're not getting goals, something will change. So maybe that's something you see in the future.
So did you ever play in a team where you had a similar situation like that, where you had players, whether it was you and somebody else, or just a pairing that they tended to do that. They occupied the same space because I think with Atlanta fans, like this is now the most recent example, but there was a short period of time when this team had Marcelino Moreno and Thiago Almada, and that was the biggest complaint, right?
Yeah.
And Almada was on his way in, Moreno was on his way out, so there was maybe a little bit of an easier fix there. But now you're in a position where, I mean, two almost brand new DPs are now doing this, and you're going to have to fix it one way or the other.
Yeah.
So, did you ever have that issue?
I can't think off the top of my head a specific example that is so similar to that. I'm sure it's happened. I was a type of player that they moved me all around the field, and I didn't really care where I played because I said, wherever you put me, I'm going to make my plays. Like I will find ways to affect the game, and most good players will do that, unless you're so stubborn to say like I'm a number 10, I have to play number 10, which most modern soccer players aren't like that. I think this is a big thing that Ronny Deila has to figure out is the best coaches are flexible and they'll find ways to put all of their best players on the field at the same time in a tactical formation that works. So I look at San Jose. Christian Espinoza has been one of the best and most consistent wingers in MLS, albeit on a shitty team for 3 or 4 years. Yeah. Bruce Arena comes in, who's typically always played a 4-4-2. Nothing exciting about it, just 4-4-2. But I think the fact that then he has a number 10 like Hernan Lopez and then 2 strikers, he switches to now playing a type of 3-4-3, 3-5-2 formation and turns Espinoza into a wingback who has seemed fully bought in to play wingback, to get up and down, still get his crosses in the box, still get his goals, get his assists. So I got to give Bruce Arena some credit. Ronny Deila might have to do something similar to find what the balance is in his team that gets all of his best attacking players in the right positions to succeed, not just married to a 4-2-3-1 if that's not what's working out in attack.
So then jumping back to the other side of the pitch, what have you made so far of Atlanta's defense? I mean, the spotlight's kind of been on Matt Edwards because he got thrown into the fire.
Yeah.
He started off, he had an okay game. Had a pretty good, at least first half in Charlotte. He's kind of progressed. But what do you make of him, but also kind of Atlanta's back line as a whole right now?
Yeah, well, I think Matt Edwards has an opportunity to steal a spot right now if he can continue to improve, and he's going to have to do it fast. Listen, the first 45 minutes in Charlotte, he was amazing. This guy had Wilfred Zaha in his back pocket. We were all in the studio being like, who is this kid? And Dax is like, oh, he's from North Carolina. That's a Tar Heel right there.
Going out for his family.
Yeah, but I was really impressed. Then tired a little bit in the second half, misjudgment on the long ball, makes a mistake, yeah, it's a young player. That's a young guy who's a little bit inexperienced, but he has a good opportunity. He put a good cross in the box last week for Latte Lath that he headed, right at the goalkeeper. That could have been a big moment early on. But he's got an opportunity. I think Amador is very good. He's shown that in the playoffs last season. This guy delivers one of the best crosses in MLS. And I think Gregerson and Derek Williams is your center back pairing. I think they're both good. They're both good enough in MLS to be a starting pairing that can do well. They're both dangerous on set pieces and attacking and defending as well. So Edwards has a chance. That's going to be the question mark all season. It's like the LA Galaxy last year. When you have so much money spent in attack, you wonder, all right, where's the problem in this team? It's probably in the back line. Can we outscore teams and things like that? So it's good they got a shutout last week. They can build off of that. Brad Gazan is still very good. He's going to get the job done. We'll see. To be determined on the back line.
So Sacha, kind of taking a wider lens view of MLS, there are a lot of first-year head coaches with new teams in MLS in 2025. Philly with Carnell, Vancouver with Jesper Sorensen, St. Louis with Olaf Melberg, Quakes under Bruce Arena, and those have been 4 of the more surprising teams in MLS, especially Philly and Vancouver.
Yeah,
having won the first 3 matches. San Jose looks different, but that was a low bar. We already talked about San Jose a little bit earlier. But out of the new head coaches in MLS and the coaches in their first years under MLS, I should clarify, who has impressed you the most?
Well, I think the most surprising and most impressive have been Olaf Melberg in St. Louis and Sorensen in Vancouver, mostly because we don't know much about these guys coming in, right? We can look at their resume. We can see, okay, Sorensen comes from Denmark, but we don't really know how his team's going to play. How is he going to adjust? Vancouver has typically played in a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 for like the last 3-4 years. So Does he change anything when he comes in? And they've been fantastic. Obviously, 3 wins, and they're still in, CONCACAF Champions Cup. I think they play tonight. And Melberg, to start off a season with the 4th worst defense in Major League Soccer last season and come in now and have 3 straight shutouts to start a season. Like, clearly he said defending is very important. He's one of Sweden's all-time best defenders, so you would understand that. But to set up a team tactically to be, say, first and foremost, we are hard to play against, still have one of the best goalkeepers in MLS in Roman Berkey. He's going to help us out. I think it's been very impressive from those guys to come into a league that they don't really know, to play some tough games early on and get really good results.
Now, kind of shifting to the big Sunday night soccer matchup coming up. Atlanta United hosting Inter Miami in the Benz in front of, I think it's going to be a full stadium. It takes me back to that playoff game, man, that they had in that stadium last year, and it was loud, it was crazy, it was awesome. But this matchup, it kind of feels like it's grown a little bit. It's kind of gone to the next level, and kind of in sports now, it feels like when you have games with such kind of big consequences, like in the big moments, the playoffs, for example, you kind of start developing rivalries.
Yep.
I'm curious, from your perspective, do you think that Atlanta United and Inter Miami is a rivalry in the making?
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, based off of just this playoff series, and it's the biggest upset in playoff history, basically, when you compare the two teams last season, that's going to breed rivalry. And then you get a game now early in the season, Sunday night soccer, everybody watching, the Benz will be rocking. It's going to be sick. Should be a great game. Someone asked us in the studio last week, like, who is Atlanta's biggest rival? And I don't really know how to answer that question. I was like, well, it's a little bit the New York Red Bulls, because they've had some good battles over the years. It goes back to that very first game. A little bit of it is Orlando, just on proximity. But when you look at those two rivalries, Atlanta has dominated Orlando, so then you can't really call it a rivalry. And the New York Red Bulls typically have dominated Atlanta. Atlanta's only beat them twice in 17 games now. So there's not that real hatred. And I just think about when Suarez threw Gazan into the goal in the playoffs, and this guy is just flailing in the net. I'm like, what a classic moment. And it's really something to build off of, that I think on Sunday night there's some anger within Inter Miami that they got knocked out, by Atlanta in the playoffs. And I think they're going to want revenge, which is beautiful for the league.
And what about that matchup now? You have two historic number 10s in MLS history clashing, Lionel Messi against Miguel Almiron. What can we expect from that?
Yeah, well, listen, for those two guys, they're the key for both teams. Hopefully we see Messi back on the pitch. And you just see two guys going at it, making plays in the final third. But this game might come down to the supporting cast, if I'm being honest. And right now, I'd say Miami's supporting cast is better and deeper right now, and they've done a really good job of replacing Diego Gomez and Campana and Matias Rojas from last season with some Segovia looks sick, Allende looks sick. So it's been really fun to see who steps up. All their young players, Kramaski, Yannick Bright, these guys are all 1 year older, 1 year better. Noah Allen, Ian Frey, the right back, has really come on and looked really good this season. So I think it's going to be a really good matchup of just two very good teams that are going to be throwing punches at each other.
How does the travel factor into this for Miami? As somebody who did it a lot, and admittedly still does it, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. And then of course, so they it's a Sunday game, so you do have that little bit of time as normal, but it's still a lot of travel.
Yeah,
Central America. So how does that factor in?
Yeah, I mean, going into their game, they play tomorrow night, Thursday night, in Jamaica. I'd expect them to rotate a little bit of their team, seeing as how they have a 2-0 lead going into that game. And then trying to get their best 11 on the pitch against Atlanta, because it's just it's a big game and it's on Sunday night soccer, and I think it means a little bit more. The travel is difficult. Listen, I would have thought that Suarez would be rested at some point this season, but this guy just keeps playing every single game. So does Busquets. These guys are machines, dude.
Alba.
The game is different in Europe, I honestly, I hate when people complain about we play too many games in the States, because the best teams in MLS might play 45, 50 games in a season. The best teams and best players in Europe are playing closer to 60. So I know the travel is a lot different. But everybody flies private now. Everyone's hopping on a plane as soon as the game's over. Everyone's getting recovery out the yin yang. Like, I don't know. So I'm not sure that the travel is so much as more as just match congestion early in the season.
So I think I might have asked you this. It may have been you were BWP last year, but is the travel conversation in MLS because of the distance? Is it a cop out? Is it an excuse that's maybe used a little too much?
I hate it. Yes, I think it is. Especially
It
now.
hurts me, but I'm not the one doing it. So
Yeah, especially now with guys, the teams fly private all the time. So as soon as the game's over, you're on a plane and you're heading home. Sometimes you get home at 3, 4 in the morning, but at least you're sleeping in your own bed. The recovery now too, it's like everybody's got everything that's top of the line to help the guys recover and be ready as fast as possible. I will say, but I'm from the States. I grew up here. I was flying commercial back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10 until I went to Europe. But I was used to that. But I know guys from Europe come over. Like when I played in Belgium, the furthest away game for us was an hour and 15 minutes by bus. And so being in a small country, we were there, we were back every single night. That was easy. So guys come over and they're like, oh shit, a 6-hour flight across the country, 3-hour time change. It takes an adjustment. So I understand for the foreign guys, it takes some time to get used to it.
I know Henry had a couple of fun ones for you, but real quick, U.S. men's national team next week, they play CONCACAF Champions League. What do you make of the job that Pochettino has done with the team so far, and any surprises on the Nations League roster that stand out to you?
I think he's done a good job. I think everyone's still getting to know each other, but I'm very excited about the team. I'm actually going to go to that game next Thursday at SoFi Stadium in LA and take my kids. So that would be, I'm very excited to see that. Hopefully they win and they get to the final and make it, I think, 4 for 4 in the Nations League. I think the Luna on this roster was the surprise, but it's clear that he was given an opportunity by Pochettino, and Pochettino likes him. And so I'm excited by that because I think he does have some type of different skill set at making plays in the final third. Whether he actually features in these games, I'm not sure, but I'm excited to see him on the roster because I agree with Pochettino that he adds something a little bit different, and he's got some plays in the final third. I'm excited for the team. Listen, the stars are still the stars. The game's still going to revolve around Christian Pulisic, that's for sure. Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams. I think Johnny Cardoso has really come on. The question will be who he chooses to be the 3 midfielders, right? Like, is Reyna in there? Is Musa in there? Can Johnny and Tyler Adams play together, or do they both play the same position? So I think right now it's Weston McKennie, it's Tyler Adams, and then he's got to choose one more out of the group of midfielders, and it's going to be interesting to see who starts that game.
And then just quickly, Ajaman in the roster as well was involved in January camp.
Yeah.
Probably won't start. I don't know how much time we'll see, but definitely good to see, I think.
Yeah, listen,
how he's playing with Charlotte.
I'm always excited to see MLS players who do well in MLS be rewarded with call-ups to the national team. Ajaman's had a slow start to this MLS season, but he did show well in the January camp. Brian White as well is another guy that I think in a pinch, I don't think we'll need him because I think we'll be winning against Panama. But in a pinch, if you're losing and you need a goal, one of those guys as a second striker up top would be a very good option.
All right. And just to wrap up, we do have a couple of fun questions. And these, unfortunately, we don't have our resident gambler here with Tommy. So I'll have to fill in for him.
Okay.
But we have a couple of over-under type questions. So first of all, for Atlanta United versus Inter Miami, 3.5 goals. Are you taking the over or the under?
I'm going to take the under on that one.
Under. Okay. Why?
Taking the under. Atlanta's been shut out for a couple of games yet, so I can't be throwing out big numbers with these guys. And I think it's also going to be a tight game, especially early on. So, I mean, I might regret this one, but I'm going to go under.
All right. And then the other one is 4.5 cards, over or under?
Over. Easily.
We're unanimous on that one.
Over 4.5 in the first half, dude. Come on. There's going to be some fire in this game on Sunday night.
Giddy up.
There are a lot of feelings that have gone 4 months of just simmering, waiting
yeah.
for this
Mhm.
match.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You think we see a red?
Ooh, I don't know. I hope not, unless it's something really egregious. But I always want to see 11 guys on the field battling it out, and may the best team win. You know.
Yeah.
The Suarez handball to block a goal.
How does Miami get a red card in every game and they
I
still
know.
keep picking up points?
Man,
Dude?
That's
the big
that is
question.
some
Is that
magic.
good?
That is some magic. But I'm like you. Like, just give me 11v11.
Yeah.
Play it out.
Mhm.
Best
No
team win.
excuses. Let's see who wins.
I like
Yeah.
it. Sasha, I don't want to keep you any longer, man. I really appreciate you coming out, hanging out with us.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, always. You're welcome anytime. And hopefully after this year, if he does in fact retire, maybe you guys can get Brad on board for next year's Des Moines team.
Maybe. We're gonna hey, dream scenario. I think we win 3 games. We get to play against an MLS team. That would be wild. You know,
That would be
maybe-
insane.
yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, we'll be cheering for you, man.
Yeah.
Cheers, my guys. Thank you.
Appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks, Sash.
Appreciate it. See you soon.
Good stuff.
Sacha Kljestan, y'all.
Sasha, I love how brutally honest Sasha is.
Yeah.
Not just here, but I mean, like on Apple TV, like
Yeah.
he'll just say some stuff, and it's like, yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's how I feel too. Like
Hey,
nobody's beating around the bush here.
hey, that's what you need sometimes, right?
Yeah.
That brutal honesty.
Absolutely.
But no, he does great with the crew, MLS 360, MLS Countdown. Of course, Kevin, Kaylin, Brad. Missing
the whole
one.
crew, Dax.
Dax. I was like, who's the other guy?
I know
the guy
it
that
seems
just
like
started with the
got
used
people
to play for
subbing in and
Atlanta.
out at times. But no, they really are. It's a great crew.
Yeah.
I really like the chemistry they've got is fun to watch. So
Yeah.
and it's nice. You get to actually watch it more now because you have games spread out throughout the
Mm-hmm.
day. We all harped on it last year. I was so happy to see MLS kind of chop it up a little bit this year. And then Sunday,
Yeah.
so the first three match Sunday of the season, which is really cool. So they're gonna be working double time.
I'm for it.
Yep.
I'll be watching
Yeah.
Saturday at
It's
least.
gonna be a Saturday for sure. Sunday, we will be at the Signia Hotel right next to the Benz. So y'all come hang out with us at 5:00. We'll be at the Nest on 4 bar up on the 4th floor. Walk right in, come grab a seat, hang out, grab you a drink. We'll be doing a live show from 5 to 6. Give you guys plenty of time to get back across the backyard over to the Benz, get in your seats, and get ready for the show.
And some food, maybe some steak frites as well.
That steak frites are so good, man. And the mojito, get you a mojito
Yeah. If you're a drinker.
if you're a drinker.
Yeah.
Get a virgin mojito.
Right. So how are you guys feeling about Latte Lath? Does he play on Sunday? That's of course going to be the big question. Where I think, of course, like we said, he trained. He's been training, but he's still in concussion protocol. I always pronounce protocol. And shout out to Sweetwater, by the way.
100%.
Before we move on. Thanks, guys. Sweetwaterbrew.com. The Latte Lath concussion protocol is what I was trying to say. So obviously taking it easy. Henry, you were there. But taking it easy during training, I'm sure. Have to go like 5 days, I think, without symptoms before coming in. Does he play? And I say he does. I think the fact that he's able to carry on Saturday against Red Bull is a good signification that, or a signifier that I think he'll be able to give it a go on Sunday. You, of course, never want to see one of your players take a head injury to get added to the, you can joke around like this because doesn't seem to be serious, the Brad Guzan list of casualties. But I feel like if it has the same effect as it did with Pedro Amador, we'll welcome Tommy here shortly. If it has the same effect as it did with Pedro Amador, I'm pretty good with it. What do you guys think? Does he play?
I think he does. I think you have a guy. So I'll go back really quick because I want to hear what Henry was able to see today at the training ground. But Latte Lath's press conference, his introductory press conference in the men's, after the part that was on the cameras, that was on YouTube and all, had a moment to talk to him. And I asked him, because he had said like he hadn't been able to watch a whole lot of MLS up until that point. Obviously part of a very busy transfer saga, as we all remember. And so, I mean, he was playing, and then he had the groin thing that happened. And then there was that lull where he wasn't playing, and it was like, where's he going to go? He hadn't had the time to watch much MLS. So I asked him, like, of the teams that you do know, that you have been able to see, the schedule that you've seen, who are you most excited about playing against? And of course, he said Miami. And Lionel Messi. He said, and it wasn't, like he's like, he's the best player in the world. He's my favorite player. However, I want to beat him. This dude is not going to miss this game unless he absolutely has to miss this game. The good thing is concussion protocol, the way that it went down, Brad Guzan pile drives him off the top rope in the 38th minute. To be fair, it wasn't fully Brad's fault. I think if you go back and watch the replay, actually, I think he hit his head against the Red Bull. I forget what player it was, against his elbow. Yeah. Whatever.
I'm Team Brad. It wasn't Brad's fault. It looked like it was. He was framed.
He was framed. He was framed for attempted murder for sure. But you had that happen in the 38th minute, and then he's checked on field and off field, which is what you do. Cleared. Go to halftime. Concussions are funny. They have things pop up later. Sometimes it can be minutes later. Sometimes it can be a day later. And apparently, I think like something happened at halftime, and then he came back out on the field, and I think he really started to feel it, and that was when he was subbed off. So after he subbed off at the end of the game, that's when he enters concussion
protocol.
5 days is what it has to be. So the Sunday game does him a favor. I think, especially if he's out there training today, albeit by himself, that is a good indication that he's out, being able to do things physically. That's not a concern. So I do think you see him. And again, if he has any say in the matter, he's going to play. He wants to beat Lionel Messi. Tommy, welcome.
Hey.
You made it.
Thanks for coming by.
Hi there. You got your connector kit?
I do.
Nice. You got a name on the back?
Me. Couldn't.
What's your number?
Good thing I didn't have any little things above any of my letters in my name, or it would have been canceled.
Right.
That would have been bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Moose with a little tilde above an O somewhere.
I'd like to put like little dots in the O's. That's how I sign my name.
Lot.
Like I write Moose, but like 2 dots, and then put a little smiley face under the O's. That's how I sign my name as a 42-year-old.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Never grow up.
Right. So Latte Lath play, Tommy?
I think so. I had a concussion. Well, they thought I had a concussion in hockey, and it turned out that I didn't, but I had major effects for about 3 days afterwards. And I was like, my parents were like, are you sure he doesn't have a concussion? And it was no, but like, especially, back in the 90s, people like still concussions. It was, it was either it's just a concussion, he'll be fine, or like there were some people like, don't fall asleep, you will never wake up. So I just kept trying not to fall asleep. I was like, all right, I've been up for 48 hours. Am I gonna die now from no sleep, or just is it the concussion? But you still get headaches from there. You can get like you could still have some swelling there for wherever you got hit, and that just affects everything.
Nausea.
But it takes a few days to get back from it, even if it's not a concussion. But like you said, he's practicing. I mean, the first thing really is just running when you have a concussion. Can you run? Can you stay focused? Do you not get dizzy? And if you could do that, then that's a good sign there.
Henry, what'd you see up there today?
Yeah, so look, Latte Lath, he went out with everyone else, walked out for training, and then trainer took him aside, and they started just running around the field, just doing laps around the field with the trainer, and he looked good. He looked normal, really nothing weird going on there. But yeah, that was the whole session for him today, was individual training. Him and Ronald Hernandez, by the way. He's now doing individual work, which is good for his recovery. But so I asked about kind of this whole concussion protocol process and what kind of needs to happen. And what the explanation I got was that there are certain stages that he needs to meet. And with each stage, they're kind of looking to make sure, okay, are you presenting symptoms with this kind of activity? Are you presenting symptoms, these kinds of symptoms with this? No, okay, on to the next stage. And then, you check in with that stage and see if they're meeting that milestone, if there's, they're not having the symptoms that are associated with concussions with this kind of activity. And then, you start moving up until finally they are out of that protocol. From my understanding, he is moving through that process pretty well. Right. And so I would expect them to be there on Sunday against Inter Miami. Of course, we'll probably have a better kind of indication of that on Friday. That is the next kind of media availability we will have, and I will be there. Right. And so if he's training with the team by then, I'd say that's a very good sign that he will be at that game. And Atlanta really does need him for that game. I know that he hasn't scored in these past 2 games. The team hasn't scored at all in these past 2 games. But if there is going to be someone that can threaten that back line and keep them honest, it's going to be him.
And we've talked about it, guys. Miami could be like that cornerstone game, that line in the sand, that date where everybody circles and says, this is the day where Atlanta United turn things around. Ever since then, they've been unstoppable. And Dyla said, look, I've seen things in this team that tells me this team is going to be tough to play against. And maybe, that extra day of rest that you get, coupled with the fact that Miami have a congested week of match action due to Champions Cup. Of course, they'll rotate probably, but due to the fact that they have this congested match schedule, maybe that definitely benefits Atlanta United. Also, Atlanta's been Miami's bogey team. So, yes, Latte Lath certainly, if he plays, will be a big part of that. But, if you're a striker, you get 1 goal. That's often what helps to open the floodgates. Strikers tend to get on runs, and if they can put the ball in the back of the net at least once, that can really get things going. Thing is, if it doesn't happen for Latte Lath, you can't freak out. You can't get into the mindset of, oh my gosh, this is never going to happen. I'm never going to score again. I didn't write brace in the opener, and all this mental stuff kind of creeps into your head. So I think he has to, regardless, keep a good mentality. Every time he steps on the field, he has to say, you know what, I'm not going to leave this match until I score. Even if it doesn't happen, go back out there to the next match and have that same mentality, because the last thing you want is a striker, not only a striker that doesn't score, but a striker that's lacking confidence. And that's a cocktail, really, of danger for a team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, he's just he's too talented, and he's got a history. Like, this isn't going to break him. If anything, the concussion could break him if he had it. But other than that, I mean, mentally, I don't think he's going to get frazzled here. But what you said, with Miami playing on Thursday and then having to go to Sunday, last season, we started at home 2-0 against 2 teams that were coming off of a midweek game because of the Champions Cup, right? It was New England and Orlando. And Orlando was the exact same situation. I think it was a Thursday, Sunday turnaround, and Atlanta ended up winning that. You just got to do it. I mean, you have no excuses. You're the rested team. You're at home. All of this comes together. You need to win this game. It's just simple as that.
What if you don't, though? Just devil's advocate.
I talked to your fiance, and she said you're going to shave your beard.
No, she did not say that.
You heard it here first.
That is a lie. Yeah, I definitely heard it here first. I also thought she would never say that.
No, I mean, if they don't win, they don't win. There's no excuse to be made. It just means that you've got to go. You got to get your crap together. And you're going to have to. You should be going into this summer, right, with this long road trip that you have because of the Club World Cup, already planning to win. You've got to win all your games, right? But you have the opportunity at home. 2 things. 1, to just bump yourself up the standings early, get some points. But you need to turn Mercedes-Benz back into a place that teams absolutely hate playing in. And it has to be that. It has to be a fortress, as we always say. it needs to be a terror dome is what it really needs to be. Like, these teams should absolutely hate stepping foot in that place. And it's not there yet. But look, if Atlanta goes and loses or draws to a team, again, that has Lionel Messi, Busquets, Alba, like as our friends over soccer down here say, John, like the Gulfstream Galacticos, there's always a chance that they're just going to have a game, and it's not the end of the world, right? I would rather get this kind of building up chemistry stuff out the way early, because this is the part of the season when you're trying to develop it. And it's like Sacha said, some of these players, they've had 4 or 6 weeks together. I mean, as a former player, current player, really, if you count Des Moines, that's not enough time. So I know it's hard to be patient, and I'm one of the most impatient people in the world, especially when it comes to my soccer team. But it's not the end of the world if they lose. It's not.
Well, and I see Colonel's comment about as far as the concussion goes, Atlanta's going to be careful with him.
Right.
Yeah.
There's too many things in sports these days that go to protect the players in the NFL, in the NHL, the NBA. I mean, you saw them checking him out. They didn't see signs of it. They let him back out. He's in the protocol now. If he doesn't have it and he's fine, then they're going to let him play. If not, then they're not going to let him play.
Right.
I mean, we've seen players, right, and especially this early in the season, you're not gonna screw around with that.
Yeah.
But it's still, sports have changed a lot over the past few years as far as the concussion spotters like that you see in the NFL. Back then, they would just say, "Okay, yeah, you're good. Just go back out there. Here's a couple Tylenol and do that." They don't do that anymore. So I'm not concerned if the choice is that he can't play. It sucks, and we're very thin at that position, but that's where you have to go.
Came in Togashi time.
Exactly.
Well, and then
that'd be a hell of a time to make your name.
I know, right? Hey, but I'm here for it. I love that guy. I just love the energy he brings.
Yeah.
But then on the other side of the coin is, does Messi play?
I mean,
tomorrow night. Well, he's traveling tomorrow night with Miami down to Jamaica. Does he then turn around and play?
So here's my thing about that. Is Miami okay without him? I mean, we mentioned the players that they have. Allende is having a terrific start to the season. You have Segovia. You have, of course, Suarez, who pretty much feels like he's going to play every single match this year. You have other players that can help this team win. And we saw it last week. They were down to 10 men. Messi didn't even see the field, and they still won. I mean, it's laughable at this point, just how they're able to. You mentioned with Sacha how they're able to keep doing it. But I think at this point, yes, he is the star man. He is the best player in the world. But if he doesn't play, is Miami good without it? I think the answer is yes. So I think the question needs to be bigger than, is Messi available, and needs to shift to, how does Atlanta cope with a team that is hungry, that looks to be better than it was last season, that is really out to prove, prove dollars wrong to some extent, to show that, hey, last year is the last year. This is a different year. We want to win MLS Cup. We want to get back to Champions Cup. We want to avenge what happened to us last season. So I think that's kind of the big question that we need to be asking. If it's me, I say yes, because he won't have played as much, even if he does see the field against Cavalier in Jamaica. I mean, I think he comes in as a substitute. Miami's up 2-0, and I don't think Cavalier's going to come back from that deficit on aggregate. So I think he's a substitute against Cavalier. I think he plays on Sunday. That's just my thought. What do you guys think? Because we have to ask the question, right? But what do you guys think?
Well, it's also he's going away to play for Argentina, correct?
Yeah.
And there's games Friday and Tuesday. So the 21st and the 25th. You figure he plays Brazil.
He's going to play both. For Argentina, he's going to play both.
It depends how important it is. Like, I'm hopping on with the battered herons in an hour.
Argentina is important.
And you know what they're going to say? No grass, no Messi.
Important.
It's World Cup qualifiers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Well, no, go ahead. Sorry, I was thinking about Brazil. I was gonna say Argentina's in bad shape, Brazil in bad shape, but sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, they're obviously managing his minutes. They're learning a lesson here as well, because it seemed like that team was very worn down at the end of the year, despite even Messi being hurt through a large part of the summer. That whole team looked exhausted in the playoffs at points. They're gonna need to be careful with them. It's turf. I understand that he finally did play on turf multiple times in Atlanta, but they still need to be careful with him. And if they don't need to play him, then they might just rest him. It's going to be a question mark. Or do they just do maybe what they do on Thursday? If they're down or it's close, bring him in as a late sub and see if he can finish the game off. But the question here is, how much hatred is there for Miami against Atlanta, and how much are they all holding that against this team? Because in the playoffs, these 3-game series, you're creating rivalries. And this team had the best season ever, just like the New England Patriots had a perfect season and then lose it in the playoffs, lose it in the Super Bowl. They hold that personal. It was personal against them. This team was the best team ever. Everybody kept saying this is the best team in MLS history. And they lost to the play-in game team. That has got to be burning a hole in their souls.
Yeah, I mean, we just kind of mentioned it. Like, it's revenge.
Yeah,
it's just some sort of revenge. But again, like, without Messi in the picture, is this team still good enough to beat Atlanta? And yeah, at this point, I say, from what I've seen so far, yes, I think.
But what does Messi want? It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what their manager thinks. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. It's what Messi wants.
Well, Messi wants another World Cup.
Well, if Messi wants revenge,
that's what Messi wants.
Messi also wants to say that he won MLS Cup. And who stopped him? Tiare. Tiare and Brad Guzan.
Brad Guzan, yeah.
Yep.
They formed the stoppage of his dreams here, right? The easy winning MLS Cup is easy. We won Leagues Cup. We won Supporter Shield.
Yeah.
I could just smoke a cigarette and win MLS Cup. You didn't. Brad was the one that was smoking the cigarette and knocking you out of the playoffs.
The proverbial cigarette.
I hope if Atlanta can come away with a win, whoever scores the game-winning goal, I hope that their celebration is something akin to Brad Guzan pulling himself out of the back of a net. Whatever you can do to make it happen.
Dax said he was going to do that celebration if he scored in the playoffs after that game.
That would be.
There's a universe out there where he does that celebration.
Yeah. Maybe he does it in Open Cup.
Maybe he does. Got to remind him. Get him on the show and remind him of his promise. But look, for Messi, it does depend on whether he plays tomorrow against Cavalier. And honestly, I don't think he does. I think, look, Miami is going into this game with a 2-goal lead, and they got that lead without Messi. And I'm sure that they can keep that lead or even extend it without him. Yes, the first leg was a tight game, and Cavalier almost gave them a few scares. But I still would expect Miami to handle that game pretty well, even without Messi, because I'm pretty sure Messi is going to want to play in that game on Sunday against Atlanta, because I do think that he's mad about it. I do think that he kind of wants to, get Atlanta back for kind of ruining what was supposed to be Miami's dream season, his dream season. So yeah, I do think that we will see him play with Miami against Atlanta on Sunday.
Yeah, because if Miami scores once against Cavalier, it's over. So on a winning goal, so it's essentially 4-0 lead. But go ahead, Todd.
No,
they might bring him in at the end if they're like really, really bad, but like if they really need a goal for some reason. But I don't expect that to happen.
Yeah, if it's scoreless on the night going into like the 70th minute, I mean, I think they'll feel comfortable enough to leave him on the bench.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, and we'll talk about the keys to the match really, because you could say there are a lot or there are none at all. Like, this is one of those games where it has the potential to be an absolute shootout, or it has the potential to be a game that ends like 8v7 or something. We don't know. But Atlanta has the opportunity in this match to put their boot on Inter Miami's throat in this kind of historic series, because we all know the story. We've seen it. MLS had to basically rewrite the entire Atlanta episode of Onside because of the way that playoff run went. And they are kind of in a position now where you could have players who they're not quite gelling yet, but they have that extra boost of confidence playing against this team, right? This Miami team. And I said it last week, but Miami has those type of players that either you go up against them and you shrink and you shirk away and maybe you're a little awestruck, whatever, and you don't play your game, or it elevates you as a player and as a team because you know that you have to be almost perfect to go and beat this team. And that was the FEA mindset that caused Atlanta to win this series in the playoffs last year. That's what they did. They didn't, shrink away because it was Messi and his friends. They said, no, screw this, dude. Like, nobody believes we can do it. We're going to go do it, and we're going to prove everybody wrong. And that's exactly what they did. And so everybody knows Miami's coming into the Benz on Sunday Night Football or soccer. Sorry, Sunday Night Soccer.
Wrong league.
Yeah, wrong. Sorry.
Carrie Underwood's going to sing the
Yeah. Again, fireworks, explosions, everything.
Yeah.
They're coming into the Benz on Sunday Night Soccer ready to throw down. And I really do get take the over on the cards for sure. It's going to be a spicy match, but Atlanta has an opportunity just to say, you know what, dude, we were good enough last year and we're even better this year.
You know who Miami has though? Rocco Rios Novo.
Yes,
And
they
that,
Familiar face.
Imagine that.
Don't count him out short.
I almost forgot he signed for Miami, to be honest with you. But Drake Calendar's hurt. Their backup keeper, I forget his name.
Ustadi.
Red card. Yeah, he saw a red card in their last MLS match. So Rocco Rios Novo is the starter for Inter Miami, I guess, at Latte United, unless something tragic happens and he gets injured in training leading up to the match. But maybe that's the key.
I want to
get inside Rocco Rios Novo's head. That's probably the key to the match.
I will never forget. that match at the Benz where Rocco was in goal and they were setting up for a free kick, and like Rocco just wasn't ready for it, and the free kick was taken. And was it New England that they played against?
Orlando.
Was it? Oh, it was Orlando. I just remember it happening. I don't remember what team it was, but I remember being so frustrated because I was like, "How does
2-1 loss, if I'm not mistaken?"
Yeah. I was like, how does this happen? So the key is get you a free kick right outside the box and just
free kick quickly. Look, yeah, I mean the keys for me, and the team was working on it during training today is find the space and don't get anxious with the ball, because it feels like, and one of the things that Ronnie Dyla pointed out after that Red Bulls game was that really, particularly in the second half, the team was kind of just losing its composure because they were like, okay, we got to score. Why is the goal not happening? The frustration was starting to set in. And then they started getting desperate. They started going forward too quickly. And they started sending a bunch of long balls. And I counted them. 16 long balls in the second half.
Yeah.
That most of them didn't really reach anyone because they were desperate attempts.
And that was the problem.
Forward.
Yeah.
Like long balls are fine in certain situations, but they've got to be accurate. Some of them were just literally to nobody.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the issue. And so one of the things that they were working on was how to exploit space with passing movements. And it looked good. And Dyla was very kind of adamant that they get that right. And that's important. And that's the important thing for this attack to come together, is that these players, realize that they don't need to win the game in one pass. They don't need to score the goal in one pass. They need to find the right combination to get into the box and score. And so that's the key, is keeping their heads, playing through the first half, playing through the second half, and realizing that, okay, if the game is 0-0 or we're down a goal or something, by halftime, we don't have to rush things. We just need to play them out, play our game, and the talent that you have on the field can make things happen if you stick to the tactics.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's the discipline to stick to those tactics, stick to Ronnie's plan, and kind of trust that is going to pull you ahead.
I was just going to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth. Stick to the tactics. Don't improvise. Don't go off script. Like NFL, kind of like in NFL terminology, just go off script. They kind of get away from the playbook. Don't do that if you're Atlanta United.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Stick to what makes you successful and do that for all 90 minutes. I think is the biggest key. I know we talked about Rios Novo, but that's the biggest key for me. Stick to what you know.
Yeah. Focus and discipline for 90 minutes, because it's one thing if you go out there and you play 90 minutes of soccer that looks consistent and it looks like you did what you were told to do by your coach, and it just didn't play out your way, because that happens in soccer. Look at what just happened to Atleti in that match, Champions League. Sometimes luck just sucks, and that's okay. But when you start panicking and playing frantic and getting in your head, really, because that's what it is. It's not that the other team's getting in your head. You're getting in your own head and you're getting in your own way. That kind of stuff is what you need to get out of the system entirely. And if you can play 90 minutes of focused, disciplined football, not only can you come out of this one with a win, you're going to come out of the majority of your matches, I think, with wins, because that's just the talent the team has. That's going to be what gels this talent together.
And sort of backtracking real quick on calendar, he did train with the team on Wednesday, so there's a chance that he does play against Atlanta United. Won't go to Cavalier, won't go to Jamaica, but could be in the fold for Saturday. So maybe the key is get inside, get inside Rocco Rios Novo's head, but get inside Drake Calendar's head as well. Drake Calendar is an okay keeper. He's not the best keeper in MLS. I don't think he's even top 5 in MLS. Tommy, what's your key to the game?
Drake watches the show. You have a 70th birthday on Sunday here. We have to win now.
Absolutely.
Happy early birthday, Kel.
Absolutely.
Colonel said, to be 70 again.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not even. None of us are there yet, Colonel. So
score early.
Yeah,
it's just simple as that. This team, whoever ends up starting, there's going to be players that are exhausted. You're at home. You've been able to control the first half in pretty much every game that you've had this season. You need to go out there and you need to get monkey off your back, score that goal, and then just let it keep happening. I think it's just simple as that. And then the second half, hopefully you're going in up 1-0, preferably 7-0. I'm not picky. Whichever one that you choose, if it's 7-0 at the end of the first half, great.
Right.
But the mental errors in the second half, you need to continue to improve that. But you can't keep giving the ball back. And even though they didn't allow a goal against the Red Bulls, even though they had one big opportunity, still you just kept giving them the ball back. They weren't fighting for it. It was just here's a present for you.
Right.
You can't give presents to Suarez.
No.
He might bite into it if you give him a present. You don't know what's going to happen with
there
him.
It is.
Low hanging fruit, but I'll take it.
Low hanging teeth. There's a lot that you're going to have to deal with here. There's just too much talent on that team to be giving the ball back that easy. You need to make them fight for it. So if it's easy, it's just don't let Atlanta go to the locker room at halftime and just keep them out there and just sit in the middle of the pitch and talk about it. Whatever they need to do, they need to be mentally strong in that second half.
Mm.
But we have seen this before. We have seen Atlanta go into a game right before the international break and just get that win that nobody expected.
Right.
And then we talk about momentum. Momentum's coming. And then they all leave for international break, and then the momentum's gone. And then they come back, and then there's a terrible performance when they come back. But that's the hope. This team always does so well before the international break. That's why I'm saying Atlanta wins 3-2.
Well, Henry doesn't think Atlanta will win.
Hang on, really quick before we get to predictions.
All
because
right,
I
out me like that.
I also want to get Tommy, because he missed that part with Sasha, the over unders. So I want to get those. But really quick, got to give a little bit of the spotlight to the twos who are back in action. They played their first game. Really heartbreaking loss against Rebel Soup up in Kennesaw. Totally deserved to win that game, and it was just a crap show of luck by the Rebels, because that's what the Rebels do. And they're playing Orlando randomly at the same exact time that the first team is playing Miami at 7. So they'll be away down in Orlando for that one. So they're back in action. Got, recaps and articles going up on the website as well. So y'all check out scarfsandspikes.com. And then also Atlanta announced the unified team signings, and they have 4 matches this year. First one's May 3rd against Nashville, and then May 14th, Austin. July 12th, first time traveling out of the country for the unified team, Toronto. And then back on August 24th, also against Toronto. So got to give the whole crew some love, because those seasons are starting as well. But all right, predictions.
Henry doesn't think Atlanta will win this weekend.
All right, let's get into the predictions.
Do we talk about our rule of changing because of so many random things happening? A late game Thursday. We're giving our predictions, but we have to lock them in officially by Friday.
Sure. We'll do that, because that does seem fair given availability reports and everything. Yeah, I don't think Atlanta wins. I think it's a 3-1 Miami win.
3-1?
Yeah. If Messi plays. If Messi doesn't play, I will probably switch it to 2-1. Yeah. Give me the yellow cards. Throw the red cards in the chat. Whatever. Look, here's the thing. Miami has some very talented players in the attack, and it's not just like the core 4 that we're talking about. It's not just the Barca boys. It is, Tadeo Allende, who's on a 4-game scoring streak. He scored in 4 consecutive games for Miami across all competitions. You have Velasco Segovia, who has slotted in for Messi in these past few games. And, he scored a brace against Houston. I forget who else he scored against, but he scored in another game. He scored the tying goal in the round 1 draw against NYCFC when they were down a man in match day 1. He did that. They just have so many talented players in the attack, and the attack is firing on all cylinders, and they're scoring goals, which is the important part. Atlanta isn't. Atlanta has been shut out in its past 2 games, and until I see them hit the net again, I can't really trust them as much to outscore this Miami team, which I think definitely gets goals. So that's why I think this is a 3-1 Miami win.
I'm going to need you to put this on for what's about to happen to you in the chat.
Oh, God.
I was actually going to give him the battered herons hat to wear.
There you go. Yeah, that's easier for you. Just go.
Send that over.
Yeah, I'm trying to provide you some protection here, but
I got protection.
I'm going to say
we don't need little Henrys running around.
Right. You're too young.
I'm going to say 1-1, kind of for the same reason Henry said. Just the lack of chemistry that Atlanta's attack still has. I think it's going to be a hard-fought match. Both teams will get their chances. Both teams will have opportunities to score goals, but I think at the end of the day, it ends in the draw. I think maybe Atlanta does get one, kind of gets themselves some confidence moving forward, but I think it's going to end in a 1-1 draw. And maybe with a sending off. We'll see.
Tyler?
So then, Tommy, let's get yours as well, and also over under on the cards.
Yes.
Give us your prediction first.
3-2 Atlanta.
3-2 Atlanta.
This is the game that they blow up. This is the game where they score. They've been so close, and we've been saying that. They've been close, but Atlanta always seems to be able to do magical things against Miami. And Saba has been a player that looked very good in the preseason, has not been great so far to start the season. This is the Saba game. Latte Lath, I think if he plays, he gets one. If Latte Lath doesn't play, then I'm going to be changing things. That's why I wanted to see where he is on Friday, because Henry asked us for the predictions yesterday. I'm like, it's Tuesday. It's like 40 days away. Don't check my math. I was like, I'm not ready for this. But if Latte Lath doesn't play, then I'm absolutely worried about what's going to happen here. But I still think that Saba is going to come up big in this game here. I think Miguel Almiron is going to step up for this. The leadership of this team, and I know Brad's it, but I'm curious who's the other leaders in this locker room. But I think Miguel, obviously being here prior, it's on him. I think he is naturally gonna try to help with this team as much as he can and lead. I think they're gonna get pumped up for this. I know Sunday night soccer isn't officially a big thing at this point. They're trying to make it as big as a Sunday night football or a Monday night football game. But this is the big time. This is the big game for them. And I think that they all step up. And I think they're probably sick of hearing it too. They're sick of hearing about the second halves. They're sick about saying that, they had a great XG in the first half. I think the combination of all of it is gonna put them up, and they're gonna win.
So let's go over to the over-unders. So very clearly, the first one, given your prediction, is over, which is 3.5 goals. So clearly that's the over. But the cards, 4.5 cards, over or under?
Over. Easy. I would say over 6.
Over 6?
I'm going to say over 6.
Over 6?
I think this game is going to be real chippy.
Yep.
It's going to get hockey type. It's going to be a hockey tight game because I think there's going to be a lot of trash talking here.
Yep.
There's a lot of players that were on both teams that played in that playoff series, and there's a lot of players in Miami that were obviously very butthurt about how that whole series went down. They complained about it in the offseason about the playoff format, everything like that. Atlanta, obviously, there was a lot that they couldn't get revenge on at the end of that game with Brad, and besides obviously winning the game. I don't want to say that I'm guaranteeing Atlanta wins because obviously this is a very good Miami team.
You want to bet your beard on that?
Does it end?
I already trimmed it down before. I trimmed it down today. So
does it end 11v11? Does it end 11v11? Real quick. Yes or no?
Yeah.
It does. I say no. Just based on Miami's track record.
I mean, it'd be
Tyler,
fun.
yes or no?
Yeah, I think it'll still end.
Henry, yes or no? 11v11.
I'm gonna say no. No. I feel like
After some thought.
But also, yeah, Miami has had a red card in 2 of its 3 games. Yeah. And I'm expecting this to be a very physical game. I'm expecting it to be a game with a bunch of cards flying left and right. People getting thrown into the supporters section, all kinds of things.
Hopefully not.
Well, I agree with what Derek said in the chat. Brad and Suarez, that's going to be interesting coming together to keep an eye on because it'll happen a lot. And
get Suarez out of the game.
Yeah. Give him some braces.
Get him out.
Brad, come out to claim a ball and just like clobber him.
You do exactly what happened to Latte Lath.
Whoops, sorry.
Yeah.
Launches him into the net somehow.
Yeah.
So for me, I went with the 2-2 draw. I think Atlanta gets their attack back on track. But for all the reasons y'all are, Henry, you're saying Atlanta could lose. I mean, Miami has goals in them. I just don't know that Atlanta can keep a clean sheet again. But I think maybe it's the safe bet, but I'm going to say 2-2.
So why do you need to pick them to win, Tommy or Tyler?
What's that?
That's why you need to pick them to win.
I know.
I'm the one that's the confident one here.
You're the confident one.
Tommy's the confident one. Henry's the pessimistic one. I feel like it's a bizarre world right here.
I think I'm in second place or tied for second place with Jackson.
I haven't updated the standings, but I'll send those later tonight.
Yes.
We still have to get the guests because they are still in first after this week, by the way.
Embarrassing.
But
give it, gentlemen.
looking
Did they
at
pick a draw as well?
yeah, they picked the draw.
Okay.
They picked a 1-1 draw. So it was very close. But yeah, let me just get Gray and Jackson their predictions. Both of them 2-1 Miami. So I'm not alone.
You're not alone.
Yeah, but you're
Time
the
for
one that
me to
picked
take the
3-1.
lead.
You picked Miami to score 3 goals, though, Henry.
Yeah, I just expected to score more. No, but I said it, to be clear. I said 3-1 if Messi's there. If Messi's not there, I'm switching to 2-1.
Gotcha.
Well, you know Chris is picking Miami to win.
Oh, yeah, he'll probably say like 7-0, but yeah, he doesn't know ball.
Good. Hurt the guest goal differential. Do it, Chris.
Yeah, please. Please.
Help us out.
Speaking of Battered Herons, if you have nothing to do after this, come join me on the Battered Herons. That's always a fun time. I'm going for the 3-time worst guest of the year. It's an honor that I'm really trying hard for.
On his way, in case you don't know.
You're letting me do the intro to the thing. Spoiler.
Look at you.
It's gonna
moving
be fun.
up in the world.
I'm wearing the Battered Herons hat though.
Yeah, please don't. No, Sunday should be fun though. Pretty much so. 5 p.m. That's at Fort Signature by Hilton, and then 7:00 kickoff, and that 7:30, like 7:10 kickoff from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Atlanta United, Inter Miami, gentlemen.
Yes,
it's gonna be a blast.
Y'all come hang out with us at the Signia.
Because of all the fire that's going to be going off with all the goals. 3 goals.
Here's hoping.
3 goals for Atlanta, Henry, not Miami.
I just want like an Atlanta 3-0 win at some point. I just want like
would be nice to have it Sunday.
That's what I want to see. And then I want to see him do it again during and after the international break, like Tommy was saying.
Yeah.
I don't need this. Oh, there goes our momentum. You know, that's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I know this is very early, and I probably should just ask you guys after this, but I'm just going to do it anyways because whatever. Is there going to be anyone good available to play in Cincinnati next week?
The GOAT, Brad Guzan. He'll be available.
Cool.
Brooks is back.
Amador. Yeah,
Williams.
that's about it.
Williams.
We're going to need to borrow a center back from
Muyamba.
Someone because all of them are going to be gone.
Why not put a pin on this until Sunday night?
I knew you were going to say that. I'm mentally preparing myself because I'm going to Cincinnati next week. And I'm just trying to figure out how disappointed I'm going to be.
Still have to play Miami, so...
Well, I saw that Saba got called. I saw the tweet before I hopped on that Saba, is
he got called up? Sweet.
Yeah.
So the whole front four is gone.
You can expect, what is it, probably 10 players to get called up?
Only 10?
I'm not doing the math right now. We'll definitely do that next week, but it's going to be up there. It's crazy.
Can we not think about this, though? I'd rather think about the game coming up on Sunday where this team has most of its starters.
Yes.
I don't want to think about the dark
and you're
days
predicting that they're going to lose.
Of going to Ohio with a reduced squad, as is annual tradition at this point.
Right.
Continues to happen. Whatever. Thank you, MLS schedule gods.
Yes.
So, how do we make Tommy more upset?
Yeah.
How do we do this?
How do we make Ohio even worse of a place to go visit? Sorry.
I know that's
hell is real.
Before we cut to the music, this has nothing to do with Atlanta United, but I feel like I'm obligated to share it. Ronaldinho is apparently in South Carolina tonight at a Greenville Triumph versus Union Omaha game.
Oh, okay.
USL.
Remember he came to Atlanta. Ronaldinho and friends, like in 2017, 2016, I forget.
He's just world traveling.
Yeah, he is.
Hanging out, having a good time.
Just completing side quests.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, did he play in the TST the tournament last year?
I think so.
He did. Yeah.
I wouldn't say he did.
And that was in
Cary, North Carolina.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe
he's scoping it out again. I don't know.
Maybe.
Y'all go visit scarvesandspikes.com, guys. We'll have plenty more articles getting you ready for Sunday. And I think Henry's working on a pretty good one about Atlanta's attack and everything else. So y'all just keep an eye on the website. Keep an eye on social media. Make sure y'all are subscribed on the audio as well. And come hang out with us at 5 at the Signia on Sunday.
Don't come on Saturday.
Thank you. Because Saturday.
Don't tell me what to do in my house.
You do your thing.
Yeah, I'm really excited. This is my. I'm losing. This is going to be my first time today watching The Masked Singer.
Oh, really?
It's all about Ghostbusters tonight.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's nifty. Man, we went through like the first 5 or 6 seasons of that, like nonstop, and then just stopped one day and haven't picked it up since. They kept changing the format, and it was really annoying.
I don't even know what this show is, so I assume someone's going to be masked, and I assume someone's going to be singing.
They come
I
out
have
in these
no idea what it is.
wild
It's the name.
costumes, and they sing, and then they have to guess who it is.
It better be Bill Murray is the Masked Singer. If it's not, I'm out.
I bet you one of them will be.
At this point, like they're running out of celebrities to pick to do this thing, man. It's crazy.
Imagine when Henry's finally one of the Masked Singers.
Hey,
Henry,
pick
can you
out his
sing?
voice.
I can try to sing.
Do it right
no
now.
Promises. No. Bye, guys.
You know, I gotta say, man, there's a level of confidence there for somebody to get called out about, can you sing, and for their answer to be anything other than absolutely not, implies that you feel like you can probably sing a little bit.
No comment.
Let's go.
What's your karaoke song, Henry?
That is the $50 Patreon tier. If y'all want to listen to me sing, I can. Yeah,
We can
figure that out
arrange
when
this.
it comes.
We can
Oh,
get off
God.
this right now, and we will create a $50 Patreon.
I regret this.
I have a Celine Dion song that I sing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love
Which
Celine
one?
Dion.
If you want to
It's
hear
all
me
coming,
sing
it's
Bad
all
Bunny,
coming back to me now. Banger. I have a whole dance to it and everything. I'll sing and dance.
this has gone on way too long.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Well,
Can I hit end stream?
Yeah, you can.
yeah.
Do whatever you want, man. Do whatever